We're live.
Welcome to the Lost Together podcast. I'm Joe, and this is still my attempt to try to convince Morgan that this is one of the greatest shows ever written, created, produced, shot, acted in. And today we are in the middle of a snow day. So, as a spoiler, so this is one of those episodes where we're going to review two episodes in one episode. And the reason for that is that we have an unprecedented amount of time on our hands. So in order to make sure that we are maximizing the amount that we can get through, because I'm just going to level with you, we all know that this particular part of Lost leading up to a couple episodes from now is a little bit light, kind of dry. But we're getting ready to get to what I call the good part. So we're fast approaching it. So we may have two episodes in a row that address two episodes in a row, if that makes sense. So because we are fast approaching that part. I'm extremely biased. There's a part that I'm just trying to get us to, and if it weren't for making sure that we record and stay faithful to our audience, we'd probably watch like 10 episodes today because we've got all manner of time.
We have a ton of time.
So today we're going to be looking at, firstly, the 23rd Psalm, which is the 10th episode of the second season of Lost, and the 35th episode overall. It originally aired on January 11th, 2006. So
what's today? Today's the 11th.
No,
wow!
I promise we didn't plan that. So,
wow.
Yeah. So on the anniversary,
almost 10 years ago. Oh, it is 10 years ago. It's 2020. No, it's 2025 now.
Baby, it's 19 years ago.
Yeah, almost 20 years ago.
You said 10 a second ago.
You know what I meant. I'm not good at math.
So almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago, today. So we were talking about that, and that is a Mr. Echo episode. So
yes,
the mysterious Mr. Echo introduced this season. So overall, what'd you think about the episode?
It was so good. I love Mr. Echo, and I did not expect his backstory. I was shocked.
I think Lost is really good at that. I
Yeah.
think they're very good at surprising you with. They're really good at subverting your expectations. So you have an expectation about somebody, and you just never think that's going to be what it is. Mm-hmm. You know. So Mr. Echo is a perfect encapsulation of that. I totally agree. Also, we start to. If I was a prosecutor, for example, and not a podcaster, the case that I'm building against Charlie being an enormous piece of garbage is just getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I already told you that you were right.
I mean,
I already said you were right.
I'm
no longer Team Charlie.
I saw a meme in one of the Lost Facebook groups that was like a picture of Charlie, and it said, if there are 1 million fans of Charlie, I'm one of them. If there are 100,000 fans of Charlie, I'm one of them. And it works itself all the way down to
I'm
one.
the only fan.
And then if there are no fans of Charlie, I'm dead. Or whatever. So essentially, this person has very
strong feelings about Charlie.
And poor judge of character. Because Charlie...
Bless him. I mean, like, I get it. He's an addict. That's very hard.
We are from the South in America, and so in the United States, I should say, and so if you don't know, when somebody from the South says bless him or bless his heart, that is just a way to excuse some like real bad stuff we're going to say right after. So
that's not always true. That's not how I use it.
It's often true.
I say bless that baby and bless him, bless her, as sometimes as a token of affection, or I feel so sorry for you. Or
you don't feel sorry for Charlie.
Bless that baby. He's trying so hard,
Yeah, not
but
in
other
this
times,
case. Yeah.
if you get a bless your heart, there's probably a negative connotation there.
Yeah. Bless that kid's heart. He's so ugly. Looks just like looks just like his dad. Anyway, so we're gonna get into the recap because we have this one and another episode to go. So let's go ahead and talk about
the 23rd Psalm.
The 23rd Psalm.
Which was so good. I loved it. I think Mr. Echo is one of the most interesting characters on the island right now. And so to just learn about him was great. And I love the way that Nigerian people speak. I think I've said that before. I think their accent is so beautiful. I love it's like poetry when they talk. Like,
so can I point out too, before we even get started, any significance to the title of the episode?
I am not super familiar with the Bible.
You don't need to be.
I don't know what the 23rd Psalm is.
Doesn't matter.
Is that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want?
It is, but that's not what I'm hinting at. What Psalm is it?
The 23rd.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's the 23rd.
It's one. Yeah, one of the
Lord
numbers.
is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
I will fear no evil,
for thou art with me.
Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
Yeah.
Maybe I am more familiar with the Bible.
Also, it's funny because doesn't Mr. Echo carry a staff?
He do.
Sure do.
He do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so our story opens with some kids playing soccer in obviously Nigeria. Playing around, having a great time, and here comes a truck full of men, and they jump out and they yank this old guy over to the middle, put him on his knees, grab a kid who can't be more than like 7 or 8, like he's little. They hand him a gun and they go, shoot this old man. And the kid's like, what? So he can't do it. So another kid steps out, yanks the gun, and immediately it's like, bah! I don't know if those guys were going to hurt the boy if he didn't shoot the old man. Like, I don't know what the insinuation there was, but it was obviously is not a good situation. So that little boy that shot the old man was Echo, little baby Echo. So they take him away, and he gives his brother Yemi his cross necklace. He takes it off and gives it to him. Or no, the man that is like, oh, you're Mr. Echo's fearless, come with me. He yanks that chain off of Echo and says, you're not going to need this anymore. And they're gone. And Yemi obviously picks up the necklace. Fast forward 15 years, and Echo has got some cool braids, and he is a badass, and he's a bad dude. He is like a major drug runner now. And so he's like doing this deal with these guys. They're trying to move some heroin out of the country. And Echo's like, yeah, I'll do you a favor and I'll take your heroin out for you for super cheap. And the guy's like, a favor? And Echo's like, yeah.
Well, he basically means, I'm going to buy your heroin and get it out. And he buys it for
like dirt cheap.
Dirt, nothing. Yeah.
So the guy goes like, oh, I guess they're right what they say about you. You have no soul. Echo pulls out a freaking machete and in one fell swoop slices both of those dudes' necks. Kills them. And then some little boy comes running in and Echo tells him to go and tell everybody that Echo let him live. So then he goes back to the town that he's from, I guess, and sees Yemi, who's now a priest. And when Echo's walking up to the church, there's a bunch of little Virgin Mary statues outside. The lady's trying to sell them to get polio vaccines. So, but anyway, so Echo goes in and he's like, hey, the only planes that are allowed to leave Nigeria are United Nations and the Catholic Church. So I'm going to need you to give me one of those planes. And Yemi's like, no. And Echo's like, listen, I love you, but my friends are going to burn down your church if you don't make me a priest and give me the plane. And so Yemi, he has to. Oh, and Echo's like, I'll give you a ton of money. Like, you can buy all your polio vaccines. Like, don't worry about it. It's all taken care of. Just give me the plane. So he ends up doing that. Then they all are dressed as priests, and they're at the tarmac airport.
Very good.
If you could call it an airport. And they're loading up all this heroin, and here comes the freaking army rolling around. But right before they turn the corner, Yemi gets there, and he's like, Echo, stop! Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. And then here comes the army, and they shoot everybody. Well, they shot Yemi. So, the guy with the gold tooth yanks Yemi up, throws him in the plane. They take off. And Echo's just sitting on the ground, like, watching them fly away with his almost certainly dead brother. And the army guy walks up and goes, "Are you okay, Father?" And Echo's like, "Mm-hmm." So, like, you know, I don't know if was that his turning point where he decided to be a man of the Lord, or is there more to that? Was it It
feels a little to me like he was guilty already. He was feeling guilty already, and then that happens.
Yeah, and then he got shot and died. It's terrible. So, sorry, my throat's dry.
Coffee will help.
Yeah. So, anyway, back on the island, Echo is, whittling scripture into the end of his club, and Claire walks up, and, Charlie walks up, and he's like, "Is that scripture? Is that scripture you're putting in there?" And Echo's like, "Yeah." And then he ends up talking to Claire, and Claire says something about, like, "Oh, you and Charlie should get along really well because Charlie's, like, super religious." And Echo's like, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah, he carries around this Virgin Mary statue everywhere he goes." Echo
That he found.
That he found.
Yeah, which is important.
Echo shifts into, like, total badass mode, and he's like, "Where's Charlie? Where's Charlie? I'm finding him right now." So he goes and finds Charlie. And I said when we saw it, if I saw a man like Mr. Echo walking at me the way he was walking at Charlie, I would shit in my pants. I mean, I'd be so scared. So Echo's like, "Listen, you're taking me to the plane." And Charlie's like, "How'd you know there was a plane?" He's like, "We're going right now. Let's go." So the whole time, Charlie is like bullshitting him, acting like he doesn't really know where it is. Like he just found the Virgin Mary statue, like just in the woods, whatever. And Echo's like, "I know you're lying to me. Take me to the plane. Let's go." They get there. Before they get there, they find one of the bodies of the priest. And it's the guy with the gold tooth. And Charlie's like, "You know that fella? Yeah, bloke," or whatever. And Echo's like, "This man saved my life." And so they keep on trucking. They find the plane. Yemi's body is in the plane. So Echo gets his necklace back. He gives Charlie another Virgin Mary statue for the one that he broke. And then he lights that bitch up and burns the whole plane. Little funeral pyre situation for poor... Oh, God. And I thought the corpse was pretty freaking gross. He was all up in it, too. I mean, he was, like, kissing the top of his rotten brother's head. I don't care.
Well, actually...
That man was crispy.
So, weirdly, right, I think it would be weirder to do if it was, like, a couple of days dead versus, like, a skeleton, which is what it was.
Why?
Because it's essentially like, I mean, I guess a dead person's an inanimate object, like, definitionally.
At the moment of death, yeah.
But, you know, it's just, you know, not to be grim or anything, right? But, like, that thing looked unrecognizably human. It was just like, it was just a...
What, Yemi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a corpse that's only a day or two old still looks human.
Yeah.
You know, no thanks. Yuck. Right? Like, it'd be like kissing a treasure chest or something, like when it's just a skeleton. I wouldn't do it myself, but I'm just saying I think it's less weird. And again, not to be grim, it's just that, you know, I've seen a dead body, and it's super not awesome before it gets made up. So I think if I had to look at another one, I'd rather see a skeleton than...
I thought it was super gross how, like all up in that he was.
I like that I have an English degree, and the descriptor that I came up with for a dead body was super not awesome. So just gonna add myself there for I will work a little bit on adjectives going forward. But,
love that.
Yeah.
So while I don't remember if it was before they got to the plane or after they got to the plane. It was before, because Echo forces Charlie up a tree like a freaking dog. He's like, "Get up there and get your bearings," because Charlie's like, "Oh, I'm lost," or whatever. So while he's up there, the freaking turbine dinosaur smoke monster comes out, and Echo does not flinch. He does not move, and that monster comes right up to his face, swirls around for a second, and leaves. And Charlie was like, "What?"
Well, so the turbine dinosaur smoke monster killed the pilot in the plane. Mm-hmm.
Tried to suck Locke down in a hole.
Did not kill Locke.
No.
Did not kill Echo.
But I think that it would have killed Locke if whoever it was wasn't grabbing onto him. Jack, it was Jack, because he's like, "Jack, let me go."
No, but Locke runs into it in the woods on his own.
Early,
that's what I'm talking about.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Doesn't kill Locke.
Those men of faith.
Interesting.
So anyway,
I guess the pilot didn't go to church enough.
Yeah. Echo, when Claire is like, "Oh yeah, this virgin statue," he cracks that bitch open, all the heroin comes out. Claire is pissed. Charlie doesn't know that Echo has done that. I think Echo tells Charlie while they're walking around that he told Claire about it. So Charlie's like... So when they get back, Claire has packed all his shit up, pushed it out of their little camp, and she's like, "I don't want you anywhere near me or my baby. Get out!" And Charlie's like, "I'm really sorry. Like, I'm not using it again. I just like to have it." And she just turns around. So then it was so funny. I think it was supposed to be like a real solemn moment of him picking up his suitcase and all his bullshit. It was so funny.
It's just because he's so little and there's so much of it. Yeah.
Looked like a kid. And anyway, he takes that Virgin Mary statue that Echo gave him, and he puts it in a chest that's full of Virgin Mary statues. He's hoarding it. What an idiot. Because, if you've got a chest full of heroin, good for you for then. You're in a feast or famine. You're in the feast right now. But the famine is coming. That heroin is finite. You've already been through the major awful withdrawals. Why in the hell would you do it again? Why? If you know it's finite, you know. There's no
Are you trying to logic out why a heroin addict
I get it.
use heroin?
I understand, and I've never done heroin, so I don't understand how intense that is. But I'm sure that it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was that. That's the episode.
That reminds me of a Nick Swardson. Do you know Nick Swardson?
Yes.
It reminds me of a Nick Swardson stand-up joke where he was like, a lot of people say that cigarettes are more addictive than heroin, so now I'm allergic to heroin. And then he just shrugs on stage. And I remember that because no person in the audience laughed at it.
It's because it's not funny.
Yeah, it's not funny, but it was funny that he tried it. So now I'm now I'm addicted to heroin. Not allergic to heroin. So,
still not funny.
Good episode.
Yeah, it was a great episode. I really loved all that backstory on Echo. I never would have guessed that he was a damn drug warlord. I never would have. So
I think only a couple of things came up in this episode for me, and it's another reason why we're kind of two at a time in it today, because I felt like the stuff that happened on the island was a little dry in this one. There are some episodes where the backstory is better and some episodes where the island story is better. Mm-hmm. On this one, the island story was mid, I thought. It was just okay.
Yeah.
Echo's backstory is fantastic.
So good.
But I think that Echo's backstory is based on true events. Not specifically trying to get the priest stuff, but I told you when we were watching it that reminded me of the Joseph Kony situation. Mm-hmm. So Joseph Kony is like a terrorist warlord who was out of Uganda, and he was renowned there for taking child soldiers. So he would abduct children and turn them into soldiers, basically in the same way that what happened to Echo today. So he's a warlord, terrorist, or whatever. But the interesting thing about Joseph Kony, so I went to do some research for this episode, and he was leading an insurgency against President Yoweri Museveni under the Holy Spirit movement. So probably also not a coincidence that this seemed pretty similar to the Joseph Kony missing child soldiers thing. There was a protest about it on campus when I was in college, and so
cool.
Yeah, just stuck with me. And then also the significance of calling this episode the 23rd Psalm. So you've got obviously the number 23. But the actual 23rd Psalm is...
The Lord is my shepherd.
Yeah, but I think it's more to do with the end of the 23rd Psalm than
Please
the
read
beginning. So I'm not going to read the whole 23rd Psalm because we pretty much recited the first half of it, but the last part of the 23rd Psalm is, Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. So that, I think, is prescient for Echo, not only for what happened in his past, but stuff coming up. So...
I don't want him to have enemies.
Well, I don't...
He's a good dude.
Well, is he?
He is now.
He's a changed man.
Yes.
You think?
I mean, he's obviously got that dog in him because he was running Charlie around like a
that is one way to say
baby
it.
back bitch.
Well, because I would say that prior to activities that happened on the island, that Saeed was a changed man. And then he conducted some torture on the island.
Got that dog in him. Like
Well, we've already seen Saeed versus Echo. We know that Echo's dog is a little bit bigger than Saeed's. It's also time to update the who would win in a fight.
Echo's beating everybody's ass.
Nobody's touching Mr. Echo.
Yeah.
One-on-one in a fight, ain't anybody stepping to Mr. Echo. Right? Like, hands, especially if it's just hands, Mr. Echo's tagging all y'all.
Everybody.
All right? Because not only does he have the wherewithal with the slash across the two guys' throats.
Oh, my God. And it was quick. It was efficient.
He's physically big, strong, obviously really strong, good at fighting. Wiped the floor with Saeed when they were fighting. It's interestingly the only person that I've seen, because he hit Jen and Jen got right back up. I think Jen was just super motivated by circumstance.
Well, and he just got a headbutt.
That's not nothing.
Well, I know it's not nothing. That's your signature move.
That was, well, she said it, not me. But when I don't know if you all have noticed from the video portions of our podcast, but my head is enormous, right? So whenever I was younger, my kind of signature move, if I ever got caught in a fight, was a headbutt. So I'd just throw a headbutt to start it, because that would typically end it. My goal in a fight was not like a total beatdown, less than it was just to like get out of the fight. So like we've got the fight happening, I want it over with. Bop, right? So a headbutt is not nothing, and it's really not nothing for the person throwing it. In case anybody is curious, it does hurt to do.
I'm sure that it does.
But it will keep the rest of your body from being injured in a fight. So you may as well use it. Good episode, but not a ton happened in it. So what would you rate this episode?
6.
6. Okay. So I'm not going to have her predict the next episode because we watched the next episode and we'll recap it. But any other kind of closing thoughts about this episode? And
not really. Okay. Nothing of substance.
Yeah, this was actually I really enjoyed portions of this episode. But for me, I'm really waiting for this one episode coming up. And I know that it may feel like I'm pressing a little bit, but if y'all know what I'm talking about, it's the 14th episode of this season. It kicks off all the good stuff, right? So I'm just trying to get there, right? So let us get to the next episode, which is the hunting party. So let me talk about it a little bit before we get started. So the hunting party is also in season 2. It's the 36th episode, and overall in the 11th episode of season 2. It originally aired on January 18th, which is not exactly 19 years ago. So
close enough. You want to talk about a boring ass, like, non-island story? What a freaking snooze fest. I don't give a shit about Jack and his crap. I don't care. It's not interesting. It does not give me anything as far as like character development other than like Jack is just constantly like morally torn all the time. There's like a thing he should do and a thing he wants to do and they're never the same. It's so hard to be Jack. Basically there's an old man and his super hot daughter come in from Italy and Daddy has got a tumor like on his spine or something that's like pretty much inoperable. And the daughter is, like, giving Jack the bedroom eyes, and she's like, "You're a miracle worker, will you try?"
Oh, but
You fixed your wife.
But they talked to his dad first.
Yeah, his dad is like, yeah, no, it's,
His dad is like, absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Old Christian shepherd.
Yes, he was like, this is a no-go. And then the daughter's like, "Jack, you fixed your wife, you're a miracle worker. Can you at least try? Give us a chance. That's all we want is a chance." So Jack's like, "Alright." So they do the surgery, and Daddy dies. But there's all this, like, he tells her before, he's like, "Listen, I'm not promising you anything. He very well may die." She's like, "That's okay. I just want you to try." So he does die. And then Jack's dad is pissed off at Jack. Pissed off.
Is Jack's dad pissed off because of his ego being bruised about, like, he said no and then they were, like, checking with Jack? Or is he pissed off because he's objectively doing something wrong?
Oh, he's pissed because his ego's hurt and because Jack didn't do what he told him to do. He doesn't care whether that guy lives or dies.
No, he even said he used to go home and watch the Carol Burnett show when somebody died. Like, to just go...
What is it, like a 16-year-old or something?
Yeah, 16-year-old girl, she died, here I am enjoying my whiskey.
Yeah, had spaghetti or whatever. Like, you know... He doesn't care. So yeah, that he's upset because Jack disobeyed. So he's like, his dad is like, "You need to go home," and Jack's like, "Where is she?" And Jack's dad is like, "Oh, she's gone. Like, Gabriella, that's her name. Gabriella left. She's gone." So Jack is like, "Fine, I'll go home." So he goes out to his car, and there sits Gabriella in her car, just sobbing. He pulls her out and he gives her this huge hug and he's like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And then one thing leads to another and they have a very hot makeout session. And then he pulls away and he's like, "I can't." So he goes home and there's like a couple of scenes where he's at his house and it's obvious that him and Sarah are in a completely loveless marriage. They don't see each other. They don't really know each other anymore. So he goes home. He's obviously super stupid late. She's cleaning up the table, and he just flat out says, like, "Hey, just so you know, like, I kissed one of my patient's daughters."
She kissed me, and I kissed her back.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm so sorry. I'm going to change, whatever." And Sarah's like, "Don't even worry about it, because I'm seeing somebody else, and I'm leaving you, so bye." So there's the end of that. Like,
and she says before she goes,
you need something. You always need something to fix. Yeah. So on the island is where the interesting shit is going on. So we already know that Walt is talking to Michael through the computer. They were doing that, like, AOL Instant Messenger. "Hey, what's up? What are you doing?"
ASL.
Yeah, ASL. So, it opens up with Locke's down there, Jack's down there. We hear a thud. Jack comes running. Here's Michael with a freaking huge gun. And Locke's laying on the ground inside the gun locker, like, rubbing his head. Michael's like, "Get in there." Jack's like, "What are you going to do? Shoot me?" And Michael goes, "No, but I'll shoot the computer." So Jack's like, "Okay." So I believe he's believing in the numbers thing a little bit. Because he didn't go like, "Go ahead and shoot it. I don't care." So they go in there. They try to break out, and Locke's like, "Yeah, no, we're not getting out of here. Like, I have baby-proofed this place. Nobody can get out or into this room without the code, which is on the outside. So we're just gonna have to wait till somebody shows up."
Jack's like, "Genius. Good."
Yeah, and Jack's like, "We better hope that Sawyer needs to come get his band-aids changed." So Michael leaves, and sure as shit, we cut to Kate and Sawyer, and Kate is giving him this nice little haircut, which he desperately needed. He was looking like hell. And then he says something about, like, "Oh, I guess I gotta go see a doctor." So they go down there, and they find Locke and Jack in the gun room, and Sawyer's like, "What the hell happened?" And Jack's like, Michael left. He went to go find Walt, and he took a bunch of guns. So then, of course, they're all like loading up, getting ready to go find him. And here comes Kate, tootling along. I want to come. Let me go. Jack's like, you need to stay here. You are one of just a few people who know about the computer and the numbers and when it has to be done. So we need you to stay here. And she's like, I knew right then. I said, that bitch is trailing me.
Well, you had to know, not just because of all that, but because Jack directly tells her not to.
Yeah.
Which is like, you stay here. Mm-hmm. You don't come. Like caveman style.
Yeah.
Come, you stay here, right?
Yeah.
And there is no surer way to make sure that Kate does something than to tell her directly that she's not to do it. So.
Right, yeah. So they, haul off, and they're, walking through the jungle, and Locke ends up saying, for no real reason, I don't think there was I don't think Sawyer was being particularly hateful or awful or anything. And Locke goes, oh, hey, why'd you pick the name Sawyer? And Sawyer's like, what? And Locke goes, well, we saw the flight manifest, and there were no Sawyers, but there was a James Ford. That's you, right, James? Sawyer's like, shut up, man. I don't know why he's being weird about his name. Well,
he's being weird about his name because he's probably embarrassed that he picked the name of the con artist that caused his dad to do a murder-suicide.
He literally did that on purpose, though.
Yes, but for himself. He's probably not trying to... Sawyer is a con artist. You think
he told people his name was Sawyer.
Yes, babe, what I'm saying is he's not trying to tell them that he's picked this name for himself because his dad did a murder-suicide.
Yeah.
It's obvious that if I go, my name's Joe Green, but call me Ted, right? And they're like, why do you want me to call you Ted? That's the very next question. Because if you go, my name's this, call me something totally different, right? The person next to you will go, why? Right? And you go, well, my dad killed my mom and then killed himself. And it was all because she had sex with a con artist whose name was Ted, right? And I'm calling myself Ted now. I named myself after this con artist. It's real super weird. I'm not in therapy about it. Sawyer doesn't seem like a dude who's into self-reflection. So he doesn't really want to have that conversation with Mr. Clean, as he calls him.
Yeah, he calls him Mr. Clean. He's like, the only thing you're missing is an earring. That's pretty good.
Which Locke has a good sense of humor about. Laughs.
Yeah. So, they keep trucking. They end up finding... They hear gunfire, and they start running towards the gunfire, and they find bullets on the ground that were from Michael's gun. So they're like, oh, we're almost there. And they decide to camp for the night. They got their fire going and everything. And then from the woods you hear, Jack, Luck, Sawyer. Some voice that I don't recognize is hollering at them by name. And here comes the hillbilly from the boat walking out of the woods. And he's like, what are you guys doing out here? And they're like, we want Michael and Walt. Where are they at? And he's like, don't worry about the boy. The boy's good. He's fine. And Michael's never going to find him. So don't worry about him either. But this is our island. You are only alive because we're letting you be alive. This is our space. Don't come back here or we're going to kill all of y'all. And they're like, it's obviously there's a Mexican standoff. Everybody's got their guns. And one of the boys goes, oh, you in what army? Effectively says that. And 30 torches all of a sudden light up. They're surrounded. So they're like, okay. So they put their guns down. And they're still just being indignant. And they're like, F you. Where's Walt? Whatever. So then the hillbilly goes, bring her out.
He doesn't say bring her out.
What does he say? He
says, Alex, bring her out.
Oh, he said Alex? I didn't hear him say Alex. It's Russo's baby.
Alex, bring her out.
Nar. So, of course, it's Kate.
Bound and gagged.
Yep. And he's like, I'm going to shoot her right here, right now, if y'all don't leave your guns and get out of here. So they, they're like, fine. So Kate goes back, and of course she's groveling. Jack, I'm sorry. He does not even acknowledge that she's speaking. Like, I was like, yeah, get her. Get her. Teach her a lesson. Because, damn, you put everybody in danger. Direct danger. Plus, the only people now that can do the code are freaking Hurley and Charlie. So they're down in the bunker, and they find a record of some person named Geronimo Jackson. And I'm hoping that is, like, important in some way. Because they made a really big deal about, like, it's Geronimo Jackson, you know. And Hurley and Charlie are kind of talking, and Hurley's like, what do you think about Libby? I kind of like her. And Charlie is totally preoccupied with, like, Claire hates me, and what do I do, and whatever. But Hurley's got a little love interest.
I actually think that conversation with Hurley and Charlie is great, but for a reason not related to a greater theme. I think that it's really great because that's how conversations go with guys. So in case, like, you've ever been curious, when, like, groups of guys are sitting around talking about stuff, it's really just all of us kind of talking about our own thing and generally addressing each other's thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like, Charlie's not listening. He's upset about Claire. He's like, yeah, she's cute, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm so depressed that my Australian girlfriend kicked me out because I was doing heroin.
Like, is he officially doing the heroin? Because I think he really is just hoarding it.
Well, regardless of whether he's actually doing it, it's mega sus to have it. Because if you knew an alcoholic and you caught him with a bottle of wine and you said, are you drinking that? And they said no, how stupid would you have to be to believe them? I think you'd have to be the dumbest person on the planet. So, like, Charlie is a heroin addict, which is, you know, he's a heroin addict and he's carrying around heroin. And then we're shown as the viewer a stash of heroin he's got,
a lot
right?
Of heroin.
So, like, you have to believe he's doing it. He's doing it, you know. So, like, whether he's doing it or not, it doesn't even mean anything to me. Like, he's doing it. He shouldn't have it. He shouldn't have that stuff.
Yeah.
And so he's not listening to Hurley. Hurley's not listening to him. Hurley's like, I don't think this girl's super cute. Mm-hmm. This girl who is a
therapist, clinical psychologist.
Yep. And Hurley has been in a
mental institution.
Yeah, interesting pairing, right?
Love that.
That's going to be good.
Yes. So they get back to the camp, and Jack is just not having Kate's shit. He is just not trying to hear how sorry she is. So Sawyer pounces on that opportunity like a freaking puma, yanks her up, and is like, I would have done the same damn thing if he had told me to stay behind.
Which is the truth.
Yes. And Jack is, like, on a mission. He just keeps on trucking. He finds Ana Lucia and goes, how long would it take to train an army? And she's like, and that's the end of the episode.
Now, recall that at the end of season 1, we're shown a flashback with Jack having a drink with Ana Lucia.
Mm-hmm. At the airport.
So, new love interest?
Well, he remembered her drink order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if you're in a... Let's say that this happens, right? Mm-hmm. And you're single, like Ana Lucia is, and there's a plane crash, and you've had a drink with this guy, and then a month later, y'all run into each other, and he remembers your drink. Laid, right? Like, that's happening. Like, that's crazy. That all this stuff is happening. He's like, sea breeze.
Gin and tonic.
Oh, gin and tonic,
yeah.
Sea breeze girl, right? Like, think of it, right? That would be mental. So it just like. You know, so do you think she's gonna be a love interest for Jack?
I mean, he needs something to fix, and that's a broken human being if I've ever seen one. So maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember when I was first watching through this, because we did last season. We did a ranking of, like, hottest on the island or whatever, and I said mine's not on the island yet.
Yeah, she is now. We've already talked about this.
Well. I think when I first watched through this, I was like, I mean, Michelle Rodriguez is she's like a movie star. She's like a big time movie star. She's been in a lot of movies. To be fair, like half of them have been Fast and Furious movies, but because there's like 80,000 of those or whatever. But she has been in a lot of movies. So I remember watching through this and thinking, man, how did they get Michelle Rodriguez for this? Because, like, who's the next biggest movie star on this?
I don't know.
Probably Charlie, right? Like, he was in the Lord of the Rings movies, and like,
yeah, he was. Yeah,
I mean, Because Greg said that Naveen Andrews is, but I can't think of something that he's in besides this, other than he was in that Once Upon a Time TV show.
Well, and wasn't Shannon the daughter from Taken?
Yes, but she wasn't on Taken until after Lost.
Ah, okay.
So when she was on Lost, she wasn't on Taken yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, her dad didn't have a particular set of skills. He was just dead in this.
Yeah. Working on those skills.
Yeah. So, what do you think of this episode?
It was good. Again, don't give a shit about Jack's moral issues or the fact that his marriage is falling apart, or it did fall apart.
Well, I think that even though the back to that story in that episode was dumb, but like trying to hammer home the point that Jack always needs something to fix actually is important for the greater arc of the show, for some important things that are going to happen later.
Okay.
And so, also, I think it's important for this episode because I am mostly on board with Jack most of the time for most of stuff he does. I feel like me and Jack reason stuff out similarly. Like Jack...
Yeah, he's pretty pragmatic.
He's really pragmatic. I'm very pragmatic. And it's like Jack is not listening to how he feels most of the time. Less than just like, what do I need to do here? Or whatever. Because he does stuff he doesn't want to do all the time. Helping Sawyer out when he's sick. And like, remember when he helps him with the glasses? And like, he doesn't want to help him with the glasses. But he's like, okay, here. Like, he definitely knows what the problem is and fixes it.
Yes.
So, like, Jack is pragmatic.
Yes.
And so, I think it's interesting that he gets pissed off at Kate for directly doing something that she was told not to do. Which is in her character. Like, she does that. She's going to do it. And he doesn't understand why she followed. Except that just a couple of minutes earlier, he's having a Mexican standoff with the guy from the raft, who I don't want to say his name just yet, but the guy from the raft. And he is told a couple of times what to do and told, you don't come past this part of the island, right? And then they go back to camp, and what does he do? Start to make a plan to build an army. So he is now he's been told directly not to do something and that everything would be fine if he didn't, and everything had been fine on his side of the island. The others hadn't come to his side of the island, right? No. So, like, they just happened to end up in a location where they're not getting harassed. So they're on a part of the island where it's not a problem. They can just live there. And he's been told, and what's he doing? The exact opposite. So... Like, Is it different? That's my question kind of for the theming of the episode. Is that different from Kate?
No.
No, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same impulse. So in this time, me and Jack, not on the same page. Like, you don't get to be mad at Kate about this if you're going to go and do it yourself, like, immediately after. You don't get to make that decision. She'll tell you, like, that is so annoying to me. Just, like... Hypocrisy is the bottom of the barrel for me. And he is so mad at Kate. He's not even listening to her. Just so he can march to the other side of the beach and talk to old Hottie McToddy over there and ask her, like, train an army for me. Right? Yeah. And so I really had a problem with that. The first time I watched it, I have a problem with it now. I think it's so dumb that he is mad at Kate for something that he is literally doing. Which is, you've been told and you're not doing it. Right? Now, I don't think Kate should have followed him, right? But not for the reasons that Jack laid out. I actually think because Locke went, and I mentioned this while we were watching it, there's a limited number of people who can track on the island. So if something happens to Locke, they need a tracker.
But Echo's a tracker.
So why risk 2 out of 3? Even if you got 3, right? Why risk it?
Yeah.
So, and also, like, Jack doesn't know that about Echo as much.
Oh, he doesn't? Well, I thought they all knew.
But he's been spending time watching Kate track. Like, from Jack's perspective, even if he's seen Echo do it once, he's seen Kate do it multiple times, right? Like, he knows Kate can do it. So, Kate should be protected because of her skill set. Like, that's the pragmatism. Like, you got to stay back, right? Like, you got to stay safe here, right? Or Locke has to stay here. But
and Locke can shoot a gun really well.
And Kate is also okay with a gun. Don't forget.
Yeah, you're right.
She disarmed that guy.
That's true. Yes,
the only thing that's different about Locke and Kate is that if you get into a hand-to-hand fight, Locke is going to be better in a hand-to-hand fight than Kate. Not
I don't know. She's whooped some ass.
Yeah, but just think about it. Like,
Yeah.
You got to pick one.
She's a girl.
Listen, I think despite what you might like or not like about Kate, she's tough.
She is.
I mean,
she's a badass.
There is no getting around the fact that Kate is tough. She's a badass, and she will prove multiple times throughout the run of this show that she is the number one badass woman on that, and she is, like, even more so than Ana Lucia, which Ana Lucia seems to be, but Ana Lucia is projecting.
She's squishy in the middle.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because I think Ana Lucia shows you who she really is right after the plane crash, when she's like taking care of that kid and being, she's a little better in that moment, more like herself, before she's like, oh shit, I got to put these walls back up, like back when I was back at home. And so,
it was a good episode. Loved seeing the others, and I mean, I believe that guy when he says like Walt's fine, like don't worry about Walt. I believe him. I don't think they're trying to hurt.
Well, and we
Walt.
also can assume, I guess, that Walt's alive. Like, we haven't seen it really, but we did see like wet Walt. Like, we've seen that, right? And we've got the instant messages, right? Mm-hmm. So, the next episode and the episode after it and the episode after that is like a run of 3 episodes, which I think are 3 of the best episodes in this season.
I'm excited. Let's go watch them.
Yes. So the next episode is called Fire and Water. Okay.
Great.
What's fire water? You ever heard of fire water?
Is that, isn't that like a herbal tincture to kill a cough?
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope. It is fire water. Is what in Prohibition runners called moonshine.
Makes sense.
Fire water.
Yep. Makes sense.
Fire and Water. So it is a Charlie episode.
Okay.
So we've just seen Charlie get kicked out. So what happens in this episode?
He's in trouble. He's going to start using that heroin for show. Yeah, he's about to be full blown active addiction.
There is some. I mean, I'm really excited for these next 3 episodes. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and make since we're reviewing 2 episodes now, and we may review 2 episodes again, right, in the same episode. I'll go ahead and tell you that the next episode is called The Long Con.
Sawyer.
It's a Sawyer episode. Mm-hmm. And it is a great Sawyer episode.
Yay.
It is a very good Sawyer episode. So there's that. And then the next one is like the one after that, the one that I've been waiting for since we kicked off, which is One of Them.
Let's go.
So any other grander predictions about the island? Mm-hmm. What is it? Because now it
is a government testing site. It is a government testing site.
Even if that's true, how did the others end up there?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Y'all, it's getting good. We're getting to the good part, and we're gonna go watch another episode right after we do my favorite part. So I gotta do a quick look up here.
I thought we were going to do these after.
Well, no, because there were some, I think there might have even been some questions here from our viewers. So let me go and find it. Messages in a bottle.
Yes.
Da-da-da.
What was our last one?
What Kate did.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Greg, agree, Joe, that they hadn't yet worked out what Kate did. So I speculated last episode that they didn't actually know what she did. Because she says in the first season, like, I killed the man that I loved. I think they wanted that to be the main thing, and then somebody in the writer's room was like, we gotta come up with something. Like, maybe they thought she was gonna die or something. Mars really is a bad marshal, and it's because he likes playing with his targets. He appears to get a thrill from being superior. I've always personally thought he had a weird kind of crush on Kate. Agreed.
There's definitely some tension there.
Which would go a long way to explaining his obsession. It's the only explanation I can think of about why he never has reinforcements when he's transporting her in his custody. You know, I didn't even think about that. I
thought it was weird too, especially because he's got to catch her multiple times.
But I thought of that more as just like arrogance, because he's like, I'm a man, like she's a little woman or whatever. Like
That's what he's saying, and you're right. I think you're right.
We'll get let's see. Morgan well spotted seeing Saeed's arrest on the TV. This is the kind of detail most people miss on their first watch. Morgan, no one can answer these definitively for you just yet, but I'd love to know what you think.
Okay.
Was that horse that Kate saw really there? The first time. Because the second time Sawyer sees
I was going to say Sawyer saw it too. Mm-hmm. So then, yeah, I think it really was there.
Not like a shared delusion between her and Sawyer?
No.
Because she does tell Sawyer that she saw a horse.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you right now that our TV has a cat inside of it, and just because I tell you that doesn't mean...
I think I see what he's saying, though, because Sawyer is desperate for Kate. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's just, like, feeding it a little bit. Sawyer is... Listen, Charlie, I think, is definitively the worst, right? I don't think Sawyer is a lot better than... He's better, because I think Sawyer has a good heart, but Sawyer is choosing to be bad a lot of the time.
Yes.
So, like, just to throw that out there. I don't think it's unheard of.
No, I think the horse was really there.
Okay. You guys mentioned transference. But, Morgan, what's your theory about why/how Sawyer channeled Kate's dad? So, was it like, did she actually... We're going to have different opinions here. But, like, is he actually channeling Kate's dad? Is Kate just, like... seeing what she wants to see.
Yes,
like,
it's confirmation bias. I mean, he had a raging fever, delusional, didn't even know where he was most of the time, and he killed a guy. Remember, he killed the wrong guy.
Yeah, why did you kill me?
Yeah, so it could have been his own,
Not only that, but what if Sawyer's channeling, like, his own mother or something, like... His own mother got killed. Like, there's all kinds of death in Sawyer's past. Like,
so no, I don't think that it was...
That surprises me.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was the ghost of her dad.
Don't look at me like that's a ridiculous thing that you
Well, there was no
like
other support for that. There was no other support other than Kate was like, I think my dad's in there. Like...
Who do you think was typing to Michael?
I don't know.
Was it Walt?
No, I don't think it was Walt. I don't think it was Walt, but... How come it said dad? Somebody is able to see what's going on in there. Because how would they have known that it was Michael sitting at that computer? How would Walt have known that that was his dad? Unless he's just, if it were Walt, he says,
what's your name? And then he says Michael. And then he says dad.
Yeah.
What's your name? Michael. Dad?
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Walt. My gut tells me that it wasn't Walt.
All right, so thank you, Greg.
Yes.
Always wonderful, the questions. Daniel Shepard has a question for you, too.
Okay.
Great work again, guys. Morgan, I have a question. Do you think Kate would have committed the murder had she known Wayne was her biological father? Do you think, like, her knowing that he was her actual dad would have changed it?
Probably, because she was so torn up about it when she found out, like, that was her dad or whatever. Even though she had a dad who loved her. And,
her actual dad.
Yeah.
Her actual dad.
Yeah, her dad.
Her dad, not her father.
Father.
Her dad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that it probably would have. I think that she would have found some other way to hurt him. Maybe not physically, but I don't think that she would have blown the house up with him in it if she knew that was her father. No.
So, which one of the people on the island, I just thought about this. You know that the title of our favorite episode title from season 1, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues? Like, I mean, Kate clearly has daddy issues.
Yes.
I mean, she got multiple daddy issues. And then she's got, don't forget the, like, Australian guy whose house she was staying in that turned her in. And, he's like a father figure type, She's got daddy issues. Is Kate the biggest cowboy on the island? She's definitely cowboy and shit all over the place. Got a horse thing going on, like...
Yeah, if you're ranking cowboyness based on daddy issues, then yeah.
But I'm not just daddy issues, but Kate, she does what she wants, right?
Yeah, she's like, an outlaw. She's a badass.
She's an outlaw,
she's tough.
she's kind of like a rogue, you know, like she's not super.
Yeah, she pretty much does whatever she wants to do.
Yeah, I feel like occasionally, like Sawyer, it's Sawyer or Kate for because Sawyer's got the accent to make him the cowboy candidate. But like,
Cowboys are everywhere.
But Sawyer now is getting a little communal sometimes. Like, I think it's the time that he spent like wandering through the woods and all that with Jen and can I just say, I hate to use the word adorable. I'd like to use a different word, but I like the micro bond that he seems to have with Jen. Where
I do too.
He's not even, he knows Jen doesn't understand him. But Sawyer talks to Jen like he understands him. He's the only person that does that. Because Michael, like, yell talks at him sometimes, right? Sawyer just talks to Jen like he understands English.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that kind of weird that, like...
No.
Sawyer does that?
Well, and they've like figured out ways to sort of understand each other. Like Jen will speak Korean and Sawyer will be like, "Oh yeah, that was yesterday" or whatever. Like they have communicated back and forth.
It's like a secret thing that Sawyer won't acknowledge about himself, but he actually has really high emotional intelligence. That's how he's so good at being a con artist. Is he's really, really emotionally intelligent, so he knows how that stuff works. Hot take, but Sawyer's got high emotional intelligence. Much higher than his actual, like his IQ. His EQ is higher than his IQ. I think Sawyer's not super bright sometimes and makes some decisions that are not good for him. But, you know, it's the opposite for Jack. High IQ and low EQ. But anyway, we are very excited to get to the next episode and excited to send you a reaction. So until next time, we will see you in another life.